They have beautiful pattern leaves on them, and because of which they are very famous in this garden world. People love them keeping inside their houses, their offices, and also in their garden outdoors. So let us today understand what magic this Aglaonema will do in your garden, in your world. Let's get started. There are a lot of varieties of Aglaonema around that you will see in garden centers, like Spring Snow Aglaonema, which is in my hand, Silver Bay, Red Aglaonema, Lipstick Aglaonema, and many more. I have several varieties of Aglaonema, but to be honest, this one is my favorite, not only because of the pattern it has on its leaves, but because it grows very fast. Aglaonemas are great indoor plants, so if you want to keep them inside your house as an indoor plant, that's a great idea. You only have to make sure that wherever you keep inside the house, it should receive fresh air and also bright indirect sunlight. And if you want to keep this plant as an outdoor plant outside your house, you have to make sure that it is planted in a place where it is in shade all the time. It is receiving bright indirect sun, but Aglaonemas will not love direct sunlight on them. So we have to be very cautious in terms of planting them, and the best way to plant them is inside the pot so that you can change their direction depending on the season you enter into in your country. Now, as you can see on the leaves of this plant, that there is a lot of variegation, and the variegation is very stunning and beautiful. Aglaonemas will tolerate low light, they will not die in low light, but if you do want that variegation to be there forever and to look stunning, you have to give it a lot of indirect light, because indirect light will help the plant to produce a lot of variegation. The next thing that I would like to cover is humidity when it comes to Aglaonema. Now, Aglaonema are not really fussy about humidity, so if the humidity is low, it will tolerate and it will not die, but these plants, they love high humidity. So if you have kept this plant inside your house, I would prefer that they are kept on a humidity tray. So the simple way of making a tray is to have a tray with a lot of pebbles on it, to put water in it such that the water touches the stone and not the pot, because we don't want the Aglaonema pot to be sitting in water, because if it is sitting in water, that's not good for the soil and for the plant as well, because that results in root rotting. So there is a big difference between plant pot sitting in water and the humidity tray. So you have to make sure that you are giving it a humidity tray and not allowing the pot to sit in water. If you are planning to keep your Aglaonema outside the house, like for now, I have kept this plant outside my house in shade, because right now it's not hot in Australia and this plant will not burn if it is outside. So what I have done is I have kept it outside in the shade where it is not receiving direct sunlight, and it is surrounded with a lot of plants. Now, when this plant is surrounded with 50 other plants, let's say, there is anyways natural humidity that is created, and right now it is raining a lot in Australia, so I do not need to worry about humidity at this point. But when the season will start getting hotter and drier, I have to worry about the humidity, and I would prefer keeping this plant in shade if it is outside where it is not getting any direct sun and it is in humid place. And if it is inside the house, again it has to be in a humid place, because when the humidity is perfect, the leaves will love it and the plant will produce a lot of new leaves. Aglaonemas, they don't like a lot of cold weather, so if it is cold in your place, you can keep them inside your house, and if it is warm at your place, you can keep it inside or outside. These plants, they are those typical tropical plants, and so they will love warm and humid climate. So you have to make sure that you give it that correct condition, because if this plant is kept in a warm and humid climate, it would love it and it would just give a lot of new leaves. And as you can see my plant, it will be a very bushy plant like this. Next thing that I want to cover is fertilizing this plant. Now, if it is cold winter at your place, you do not need to fertilize Aglaonemas, because they will not grow a lot in winters. They kind of go dormant. Now, when the plant goes dormant, I have seen a lot of people giving up on the plant. I will explain you the mindset of dormancy phase for the plant. The plants, they typically understand two seasons, hot and cold. If it is hot or warm climate, the upper portion of the plant, it loves to grow. That means the leaves, the branches. But when it is cold, that means winter, the below portion of the plant, that is underneath the soil, for example, roots, root hairs, they love to grow in winter. So when it is winter and you see that the plant is not growing, basically the plant is building up the strength. The roots are growing inside the pot and the plant is gaining that immune system so that when summers kick in, the upper part of the plants can grow. So please do not give up on plants when it is winter. Understand that every plant has a season to grow, and if it is not in its season, it will not grow, but that doesn't mean that it is dying. So coming back to fertilizing aglaonemas, I would fertilize them using liquid fertilizer. My favorite is seaweed fertilizer. You can also use fish emulsion fertilizer. There are slow releasing fertilizer like potassium tablets that you can use for aglaonemas, but please do not fertilize them during winter season. You can only fertilize them in summers and springs because they are growing in that period on the top part, as I mentioned, and fertilizing once in a month is more than enough. Please do not over fertilize your plants, because if you do over fertilize, you will see that the tip of the plant will start going yellow. The next thing that I want to cover is the most important thing when it comes to plants, especially indoor plants, and that is watering. Aglaonemas, they love water, but they do not like overwatering. So whenever you water your aglaonema plants, you have to make sure that you put your finger deep inside the soil, at least 2 inches. And what I will do is, if you see the ring on your finger, go below like the second ring on your finger. You should go that deep inside the soil. If you feel that the soil is dry till that level, only then you should water your aglaonema. And if you feel the soil is wet or very moist, please do not water them, because that will result in fungal attack in the roots, also in root rotting, and you will see that the leaves of the plant, they have started falling soft and leggy. There is yellowing on the leaves, which is not good. Also, when it comes to watering, what I prefer is, if it is raining at your place, you should keep your plants in rain if possible, if you can do that. Like I love to do that. Whenever it rains, I try and keep all my indoor plants in the rain, because that will reduce a lot of work afterwards, because rainwater is one of the best fertilizer for all the plants, because it has a lot of nitrogen in it. And if we are giving our plants tap water and if they are falling sick, let's say aglaonemas, this problem is there sometimes, not always but sometimes, that if you are giving your tap water and the leaves are going yellow, that means your tap water might have a lot of chlorine in it. The best way to deal with this problem is to store the water overnight, and in the morning you can give that water to your plant, because overnight the chlorine will evaporate and the water that is left over in the morning is good for your plants, including aglaonemas in this case. If you see any brown leaf or yellow leaf in your plant, you should immediately remove that leaf. Now it can be due to underwatering or overwatering, but the best thing is to check your plant thoroughly at least once a week and see if there is any pest attack. The reason I said that I love keeping my plants in rain is because when they get that rain shower on them, it not only gives them that good water and fertilizer, but if there is any smallest of pest on them, it will just wash away. And you will see that when you keep your plants in rain, the chances of pest attack will reduce to a very minimal level. The best way to get this type of bushy aglaonema is to chop them regularly. The more you chop them, I would say at least chop them once a year, just before the spring or the summer will kick in, let's say 1 or 2 months before the summer, so that that chopping can help a lot of new growth coming up in the correct season. It will give you bushy growth in aglaonema, but you have to make sure that these plants are not kept in direct sun. The moment you keep them in direct sun, they will start hating life, and you will also not start loving them, because once they start having those yellow and brown leaves, they just don't look good and you just want to give up on aglaonemas. And they are not sometimes very cheap everywhere you go and buy them. If they are expensive, you have to make sure that whenever you buy them, you keep them to the best of the level, so that you do not have to buy them again and again. I have never had chance where I have killed any aglaonema, and the only reason is I have just made sure that there are 2-3 key things that I need to keep in mind when it comes to Aglaonema, and if I take care of that, it's all good. The last thing that I want to cover is soil. Soil is very important in terms of any plant. Aglaonemas, again, they are not fussy, but what I would prefer is if they are planted in a pot, the pot should definitely have a lot of hole and the soil mixture should be very well drained and loose so that the excess water can easily drain out from the holes. I would love to mix a little bit of compost and coco peat inside the soil of Aglaonema because that would give it that warm and moist climate to the roots of the plant and also the required amount of nutrition to grow and to have a lot of better leaves with a lot of beautiful variegation on them. I hope you did enjoy this video. Do get this plant in your life, inside your house, on your office desk if you want, inside your offices, anywhere you are working or living or spending most of your time, because not only this plant looks beautiful, but it is one of those plants which is recommended by NASA scientists to have in your life because they are air purifiers. They are also known as Chinese Evergreen for a simple language. Please get this plant in your life, plant as much as you can, and they are honestly not that difficult to take care of if they are not overwatered and kept in shade. I hope you love this video and you share this video with people who love gardening. Take care of yourself, do a lot of gardening, get a lot of plants in your life so that you go green. Bless you all. Bye-bye.